Hi everyone, and welcome to our November meeting for a diabetes support group. Before we get into our guest speaker for tonight, we'll be just recapping on the September meeting, just to emphasize the points that the previous speaker bestowed upon us. So for our topic last time for our diabetes support group, we had how to prepare for our diabetes checkup with our primary care physician. So the first thing we'd like to recap on is what to bring. So first thing on our list is up-to-date list of our current medications. We want to make sure that all of our doses, the medications, and also the strengths are all up to date. We also want to bring an up-to-date blood sugar log as well for our doctor to see how well we've been tracking our blood sugar and to see if there's any trends in our blood sugar. A list of vaccines as well is also important, and a journal of any diet and exercise that we do throughout the day for our checkup. For what to wear, so because with diabetes, our physicians, they like to take a look at our feet. So one particular thing is to make sure that we wear shoes and socks that are easy to remove. And just to wear generally comfortable clothes as well. When we're there, we don't want to wear anything uncomfortable or any tight fitting. So going to your doctor and just wearing something comfortably would suffice. And always ask questions with your doctors if you have any particular concerns. One important thing to keep in mind is that there's no such things as a silly question. If you're genuinely concerned about something or genuinely curious about your diabetes, about the medication you're taking, it's very important and a very good habit to bring it up to our doctor. It is also okay to ask for things like, what should I know? And what should I ask about this particular medication or certain lifestyle changes that I should make in improving my diabetes? And first and foremost, be honest with our physician as well. If maybe we haven't been exercising as much or maybe haven't been taking our medication as frequently, it's very important that we are honest with them and transparent, because that being honest with our doctor, it'll only help us with our health. It's understandable that if we take insulin, that needles are scary. The doctor is here to help, not judge you. And don't be afraid if your doctor recommends you to see a diabetes educator or a dietitian, because first and foremost, it will only improve our health by seeing those professionals. Our guest speaker for tonight is Reverend Noni Strand. She's the current chaplain supervisor here at Salina Regional Health Center, and we're very glad that she'll be speaking for us tonight.
Good evening. It's so good to be with you tonight. Sorry that it can't be in person, but it is so good to share. I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about the spiritual effects of diabetes and how do you care for yourself and the people that you love. I first want to start with a little bit about what chaplains do, just because not everybody has encountered a chaplain before. Our job as chaplains is to meet people where they are, to find out what's concerning them spiritually and emotionally, and help to connect them to the resources and the interventions that can be of help to them. Our job is not to try and make you believe something or talk you into anything, but it's to better understand where you are, what concerns you, what's meaningful to you, and how we can put into play the things that can help you to be better physically by dealing with the emotional and spiritual issues you might be dealing with. So it's really important that we think about health not just as physical, but also spiritual and mental, because it all ties together. So those of you who are dealing with diabetes and a chronic illness, you know a lot more than I do about how that affects you emotionally and spiritually. What I've learned from my patients is that it is a lifelong process and it never ends. It's relentless. It's hard to live with a chronic illness like diabetes. And so I loved what Alex just said from the last speaker about being honest, that there are days when it's just hard, and there are days when all of us maybe don't do exactly the right thing for ourselves. But how do we be honest about that, and so that we can start up again and make the right decisions for ourselves? Diabetes can take its toll on people emotionally and spiritually. It affects everyone around you, not just yourself, because you're thinking about what you're eating, you're taking insulin, you're checking your body, and the people around you who love you hopefully can support you in that. I've also learned a lot about the difference between healing and cure from patients, that there's no cure for this, but there is a way to be healed, in that how do we make choices so that we can live with it in ways that don't dominate our lives, but that we can manage it for the best health that we can have. And that can provide such a sense of empowerment and a sense of, I can take control of some things in this, and that can help you to feel so much better inside, rather than just being a victim that's being plagued by this. It gives us courage amid fear and discouragement. And it also just helps us to remember that this is a hard thing, and that we can help each other out, that you don't have to be alone in this. And that's why I think it's so important to have this kind of a group, because you can share your concerns with other people, and you can learn from one another and teach one another. Now, if we were all together here in this same room today, I would propose some questions for us to ponder together. Since you're not here in person, I'm going to go ahead and just put these things out for you to think about. These might be things that help you to understand yourself better, what's meaningful for you, and how you can fill your spirit in a way to live with diabetes more successfully. So first of all, it must be hard to live with this disease every day. So how does diabetes affect your day-to-day life, and what kind of support do you need? Do you need people that live with you to help you with that? Do you need outside people like this support group? What kind of help do you need from your doctor and other health professionals? A really important question for all of us is, what motivates you to take care of yourself? To do all those really important things like checking your sugars and checking your feed and keeping your doctor's appointments, your eye checkups. What motivates you to do that? Because that's a really deeply spiritual question. What gives you meaning and purpose? What makes you tick? And what gives you the life and the energy to do these things? When we can tap into that, we can deal with the difficult parts of life. When things are rough for you, what keeps you going? Who are the people that you count on? What are the activities that you need to be sure that you're doing so that you're able to sustain through those difficult times? Now, for some people, religion might be a spiritual way that they find support. It might be through a community of faith or through prayer. It might be a connection with what someone would call God. Others might call a higher power. Something outside of ourselves that's bigger than ourselves can be very, very helpful. For some people, that might come in the form of just being out in nature and seeing that there's a big world that's more than just the world that I deal with every day. But whatever that is, how does that help you to find strength and hope? What are some of the things that you can do for yourself? Things like exercise, things like prayer or journaling or confidential conversation with, it might be with a therapist, or it might be with your doctor, or it might be with a pastor or a chaplain. All of those kinds of things can help you to find that belief and that source of strength for yourself. And then, what is it that helps you to really get up each day and do what you need to do? So I want to share with you some thoughts from an article that was about spiritual vital signs, because I think it's really helpful for us to think about spirituality, our spiritual wellness, as being just as important as our physical wellness. So in this article, the author talks about the spiritual vital signs of gratitude, generosity, a reality check, and then just the ability to shower people with love. First, gratitude. Have you ever noticed that the more grateful you are, the more you can find grateful to be about? When you think about things that you are very thankful for, it creates certain kinds of feelings in you, rather than thinking about all the things that are wrong. So I want to just try this with you, if you'll just humor me and do this with me. So put your hand on your heart and think about 3 things that you are grateful for. Oh, my students are doing it with me. Just let your spirit be filled with whatever it is that you're thinking about. It might be something small. It might be just the fact that you woke up this morning. But when we think about things that we're grateful for, it fills us with a certain kind of energy. So being grateful is a very important way to help feed our spirits and help us deal with difficult things like diabetes. You might start a gratitude journal, or you might, I'm not this disciplined, but some people, they write down 3 things every morning when the first thing they wake up, 3 things that they're grateful for. And then in the evening before they go to bed, 3 things that they're grateful for. The more we express gratitude, the more we can find to be grateful for. Secondly, generosity. Now, research actually shows that simply doing kind things for other people can actually help lift depression, can improve our sleep, and also increase our spiritual resilience. Generosity is evidence that we realize how much we've been given and the grace of life itself. And then our natural response is to want to share with other people. Doesn't mean you have to be going around giving millions of dollars away, but it might be a kind word to a family member or a stranger. It might be just a simple gesture that can turn around someone else's whole day. Generosity that we are here, that we are alive, that we can share together in this kind of group, that we have food to eat and water to drink and a home to live in. All of those kinds of things, generosity can spring out of that. It's very closely tied with gratitude. Then the third thing is this submission to reality, and it goes along with that honesty that we've talked about. I had cancer several years ago, and what I learned about that was that I could be mad about it, and I could be angry and sad and upset, but it didn't change the fact that I had cancer. So when I was able to say, okay, this is what I have, I can accept this, and I can accept that I'm going to have to go through some treatments that aren't going to be that very helpful, that very fun, but can be very helpful to me. It really helped turn around the way that I looked at it. I didn't deserve to have cancer. You don't deserve to have diabetes. It's part of life, and it's part of what happens as human beings. So how we choose to respond to it, how we extend ourselves to others in the midst of it, can really change the way that it affects us. For me, it was not fighting it, but accepting it and living with it so that it didn't have all that power over me, but I could have power over it. That didn't mean that every day was fun. It didn't mean that every day was easy. But it did mean that I had a certain amount of inner peace so that I could be empowered in the midst of it. And I think that's really the goal with a group like this is how do we empower you? How do we empower ourselves to live with the difficult parts of our lives? And then finally, the last thing he talked about was showering the people you love with love. The greatest investment that we can make in our lives, I think, is in the relationships that we have. And how do we pour ourselves out on behalf of others? Sometimes people we know, sometimes people we don't know. So it might be even volunteering, which is really hard to do right now in the midst of a COVID epidemic. But how do we show the love to other people around us? And that, in the same way, fills us with love. Finally, I just want to talk about some practices that might be helpful to fill your spirit, not only while you deal with diabetes, but also in the midst of this COVID pandemic. I think we need to be very attentive to what we're going through emotionally and spiritually, because there is a lot of stress these days, and it can really drag us down. And if you're already dealing with difficult things, COVID can have a real impact on your lives. So I found this wonderful resource written by another chaplain, and Jance said he would be sure to send this out as an attachment with the video when it goes out. But it's called Caring for Ourselves and Others in Times of Trouble, Some Spiritual Tools and Tips by Alexander Levering Kern. And some of these things may appeal to you more than others, but it's kind of like a cafeteria plan. You can pick and choose what might be helpful to you. One of the first things, and I talk to patients about this all the time, no matter what they're dealing with, is to breathe, to remember to breathe deeply, to take time to calm ourselves, and to just be able to stop and listen to what our body's telling us, and to breathe. Sometimes it might lead to a meditation practice or a mindfulness practice. But again, it helps to center us, helps us to gain energy rather than just lose it, and it helps us to be fully alive. Secondly, to ground ourselves in the present moment. It's very easy to get very wound up about what can happen or what happened and we can't change. But to live that way is very exhausting. So sometimes we need to take this moment where we are and to focus on something that's beautiful and meaningful in this moment. Right now, the most important thing to me is that I'm with you, and that we can share this time together, and that we can be here for one another. That doesn't mean I don't have other concerns at home or that there aren't patients in the hospital that need me, but right now, you are the most important thing. And if we can take each moment that way and fully invest ourselves, the people around us will feel that, and you will feel the energy that comes from that. Another thought is just acknowledging the anxieties and the fears. We've talked about honesty. It's really important that we talk about how frightening it can be to have diabetes in the midst of a pandemic. You are at risk, and that's important for us to know. It's important for you to take care of yourself and be really careful about all the choices that you make to keep yourself as safe as possible. And remember that you're not alone. Even though we're here on camera doing this remotely, we are here for you. We're here at the hospital. If you need to call us, chaplains are available. We have these wonderful pharmacy people that are making this available. Your doctors are available. Please let us know if there are ways that you need support. Community, creating community is important. Again, groups like this, it might be family that's community, community on Zoom or conference call. Right now, it's hard to get together. We may be used to gathering for worship or gathering with family at Thanksgiving or gathering at the local coffee shop. And we can't do those things right now. So finding community in healthy ways that keep us socially distanced with our masks on when we're close and being very good stewards of that can help keep us safe and also can help feed our spirits with one another. One thing too is don't watch the news all the time. I know I had to do that. When this first started, I was glued to that TV set. I wanted to know everything, and I about drove myself crazy. So sometimes you just have to unplug and stay out of the news. Always listen to Dr. Fauci because I think he's a rock star. But sometimes we do just need to give ourselves a break from all the news and all that's going on. Practice kindness. Kindness is really important. It goes along with generosity and gratitude. Remember that just a simple smile or saying thank you to someone or being especially kind to someone who's having a bad day, even when they're grumpy with you, it can turn their day around and it certainly can help you feel better. Stay healthy. That's huge for all of us. Get enough sleep, get exercise, do all the things that help you keep your sugars under control, keep your feet safe, and all those things that you need to do for yourself, because you will be that much farther ahead in the midst of this COVID crisis. Other things to do are things like art. Creativity is really, really helpful. I just did the craziest project, but I just needed something creative. So I have made for my son's cat a felted cat cocoon. I should have brought it with me. I could have shown it to you tonight, but it's just this little, I knitted it and then I felted it. It's this little round orb and it has a little hole and that's where the cat will go. I had the most fun creating it. I don't know if the cat will ever use it, but it was so much fun because it was something creative. I had never done it before. Hopefully the cat will like it. I know that my son will like it. And it just kind of lets your spirit be free. You don't have to be Picasso, you don't have to be Mozart, but music and art. I think we've all been gifted with creativity. So let your creativity shine. It's a great way to fill your spirit. I think prayer, of course, I think prayer is a wonderful thing. And people pray in lots of different ways. It doesn't mean you have to bow your head and fold your hands, although that's wonderful. But a prayer can be also just going outside and saying, what a beautiful day, and seeing what each day will bring, what the temperature is going to be, if the wind is blowing, we never know. But prayer is a very wonderful way to connect you to your sense of if God is a part of your life or the divine or creation in all of its glory. Being outside as much as you can, I think is really healthy for your spirit. It connects us with fresh air, which is important. It connects us with things that are not concrete. Hopefully you can be where trees and flowers, well, there's not too many flowers right now, trees and grass and just to be out in the midst of, again, a world that is greater than us, and it's not just about me. But creation is a really important thing. And then finally, to practice hope, that we trust that we can endure, that we can persist, and that there is a reason for living, that there is motivation for things getting better, and that we can, with the help of others, we can make it through this, whether it be COVID or diabetes or illness or whatever the challenge is, that we can make it through with hope. I have a very wise friend who told me, hope is both a balloon and a boulder. So sometimes that hope really helps us to go up. Sometimes it's hard and it's almost like a boulder because of the reality that we're in. But again, it's that both and. and it's the way that helps us lead into the future, a way that we can sustain one another. So thank you for this time tonight. I'm really grateful that we got to share. I guess I wish we could do it in person, but I'm thankful for the opportunity to be with you. I would love to have any feedback. I don't know if you send any comments, but if you have thoughts for me, things that I could know better about what you're living with, ways that I could help other people with your insights and your knowledge, I would welcome that. But thank you for your time, and thank you for your courage. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain Noni, for those kind words. That was very good advice for all of us, especially like on the emotional and the spiritual side. So before we wrap up for tonight, we would just like to ask all of you, what are some kinds of topics or some sort of discussions that you would like for us to do in the future, or any other questions you have regarding Diabetes Support Group. Our email is down here. It's just diabetessupportgroup@srhc.com. And we just also like to thank the SRHC Foundation for their financial support regarding Diabetes Support Group meeting. They help make everything possible. And as well, again, our guest speaker for tonight, Noni Strand. Our next video, it's going to be on December 15th. And make sure that you look out for our advertisements on Facebook and also our website. And if you'd also like to receive notifications, but you're not on our address list, just make sure to email us again at that email, diabetessupportgroup@srhc.com. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great night.